Hello and welcome to All Things Psychology, a channel where we get you toppers insight on various important exams in psychology from across the country. Today I have someone from almost everyone's dream institution. Yes, you guessed it right. My guest for today is pursuing Masters of Arts in Clinical and Counseling Practices from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Please welcome Shreya Mandal. Hello, Shreya.
Hi, Akshita.
Hi, how are you doing? How's this?
I'm doing fine. I was a little sick last week, but now I'm pretty good. And this, it's usual, hectic, stressful, but yeah, sailing through it.
Like this, looking at this, matlab it's everyone's dream institution and almost no one gets in. So how did you manage? First of all, like how did this happen?
In our time, in 2021, there was only 20 seats. So the seat number had drastically reduced. I don't know why, maybe because of the pandemic. So that was a quite scary number. But I think what helped me was it's perhaps a very unconventional way of looking at it, but I was quite calm and I was not nervous. I was very casual about it. Let's sit for it. Whatever will happen. I can only give my performance and I can only prepare for my interview and my TISSNET. And then if things doesn't go right, so that I have more options. So I always keep my options open, and I'm a very open-minded person, I guess. So I did not took it to my heart कि नहीं टिस्ट में ही होना है, टिस्ट चाहिए, ऐसा कोई rigid attitude नहीं था मेरा. तो I was like, okay, let's do it once. If it doesn't happen this time, I'll sit for it next time. So I'll give it a go. So yeah, I think that really helped me to get oriented to the TISSNET thing and clear that phase.
So it was your very first attempt, as far as I remember you telling me.
Yeah, it was. I was doing my graduation then, and I was in my sixth semester, and then the TISSNET happened. You must be knowing that TISSNET happens quite earlier than the rest of the master's examinations. So when I sat for the TISSNET, I was in I think my fifth semester exam was going on, and then during the sixth semester we had the interview.
I also gave the exam but couldn't clear it. So that's I just know for a fact that this year TestNet was very different from what they used to have like last year. They reduced the number of seats, yes, because they entirely canceled the Barn campus, the Chennai campus. As far as I remember, there was that situation as well. So and the entire paper, like I have had people who had been giving the paper for 10 years, 9 years, and they've been like, we haven't seen such a paper. So, was that a task for you? Like looking at the paper very different from the last year, or was it dealable?
Yeah, so again, I would say that first of all, while preparing for the TISSNET, I did not look at the last year questions. So when I was when I was in the examination, I was not sure if these kind of questions come or not. I was just tackling one question at a time. I firstly attempted the English and math, so that those were, I think, my strong areas, of course. So I started with that to build the confidence, and then I moved on to GK. And I would suggest that one can also look at it in a certain manner, that they can also attempt GK first, because GK requires your recall, so you have to
Hmm.
remember certain stuff. So if you attempt GK, maybe that can help you. So for me, doing maths and English helped, and then I jumped onto GK, and I found that the questions are not my forte, really. But I had always targeted that I have to clear the 14 marks, so that's the sectional cutoff. 14 out of 40. So that was my target. And that's a plus point, that TISSNET does not have any negative marking. So you can answer all the questions irrespective whether you know it or not know it. You can answer all the questions. So that's how I did it. I took a chance. I tried the cancellation method. कि ये नहीं हो सकता, ये नहीं हो सकता. So that's how I just answered the GK section. And for English and maths, I was quite confident that yeah, these will be the answers. and yeah, that's how I tackled. I don't exactly know if the previous papers were tougher or easier.
I've also heard like from other people who've been discussing like there are these discussion groups on Facebook, on Telegram, and various other social media platforms where they have people who've been giving the exam for quite a while now, and they provide this kind of guidance. So, Shreya, coming to TISSNET, you've already given us so many tips. Like, how did you start preparing for this exam? An exam that actually looks like a mini UPSC. मतलब I'll term it mini UPSC because हर चीज आती है उसमें. So, how did you tackle so many sections, so many things?
Yeah. So first of all, my preparation did not look like UPSC or CAT preparation. Some people actually compares to CAT exam as well because MBA जैसा एक format है. Honestly, you cannot call my preparation a preparation, at least for the TISSNET part, and I'll come to the next part later. It was pandemic, and I was struggling with my mental health back then, and I completely forgot about TISSNET. And we all know that TISSNET, of course, it happens quite earlier. And when I got to know about TISSNET, so I decided to sit just to orient myself with the MCQs and get familiarized with the format of an entrance exam. And also, I would say that TISSNET prep is not very marathon like, as in UPSC and CAT. It's like a sprint race. So you have to dedicate 3 to 4 months so that you can get to know the whole syllabus. I mean, there is no syllabus for the GK and current affairs, but you can just prepare and brush up your syllabus. But I think it depends. I mean, from person to person, someone may require more time, someone may require less time. But for me, as I said, that maths and English were my strong areas, so I did not really prepared for that, alag se. But I looked at a website called www.indiabix.com, so that really helped me. So there you can find the question formats. So not like question by question you have to prepare, you just have to familiarize yourself with the question types. So for maths, let's say, so I got to know about the kind of questions that come. So, for example, logical reasoning, and then the questions for English. So there are sentence find errors and article prepositions. So you don't have to really sit for an entire hour and practice solving questions, but you can just see what format they follow. So you can just get acquainted with that. So that helped me with English and maths. And for GK, the Hindu can really be a champion. I mean, you can study from Hindu, you can get the understanding of current affairs and also the vocabulary. That's very important for clearing TISSNET. So that would be another tip that I can share. And for GK, there is of course that book called Lucent GK, Arihant GK. So these are very, everyone knows about it. Whoever is preparing for UPSC also, they are referring to those books. So of course you can get your hands on that, and that those books will be a boon for.
All right, Shreya. So, Shreya, coming to the selection process next. Like this has a very elaborate selection process. There are 3 stages, and each stage is just very rigorous. So, how did you prepare for each stage, and were there any shortcomings that you felt, ki I could have done this a little better, or I could have just improved on this one?
Right. So from our year, TISSNET, the whole TISS selection process was completely changed. So till 2020, there was, or maybe 2019, because 2020 was also online. So maybe 2019, tak to the selection process was quite different. So TISSNET was just a qualifying examination. So they didn't have any weightage for TISSNET. So I think that was a con maybe, because people prepare for so many time. So that was there. And then there was TISSPAT. So that was the program specific aptitude test. And then there was the personal interview. So that was the entire process, the 3 stage process of clearing TISS entrance. But from our year or maybe the previous year, we had a different type of format. So TISSNET had a weightage of 50%, the TISSNET score that we will get. And then, and with the sectional cutoff, as I said, for GK, that's 14 out of 40. And then there would be the TISSPAT was chucked out, and there came in the OA. So that's the combination of an extempore and an OPI. So that's the online personal interview. So for online assessment, there is 50%, and for TISSNET there was 50%. And that online assessment is divided into extempore, that is equal to 20%, and the online personal interview, that was 30%. Okay. So how I prepared? So TISSNET I have talked enough about, so I won't go into the details again. But for the OA, so when I cleared the testnet, I was when we got the result and I saw that yeah, I've cleared the testnet. So then I started preparing quite rigorously, and I would say that the OA preparation starts from writing the DUF. So the what is DUF? DUF is basically a detailed application form. So it has certain questions about you, so the demographic details, the income, your educational background, these kind of things. Okay, so the general format of it, and then you have three very important questions. So I have just written it down so that I don't forget. Wait. Uh, yeah, so the first question is write about your biographical sketch. So you have to write it within 300 words. And then the question comes, why are you interested in pursuing the selected program? And then mention any work done by you relevant to the field of study selected by you. Okay, so I selected three courses, not only psychology, of course. It's very important that you remember, before I forget, that you have to select the preference. So for me, the preference was first applied psychology. So that's the course that I'm currently enrolled in. And then I selected social work in mental health. And then I selected public health in social epidemiology. So that's the order of preference that I selected. So it's very important that you select that preference, because if I let's say I cleared the TISSNET for the whole three courses, okay, but now if I clear the last cutoff, the final cutoff for let's say mental health and psychology, but if I have cleared the both, so they will look at my preference. So if I have preferred psychology over mental health, then I would be given the seat for psychology, and if I have selected mental health, then I would not be given the seat for psychology. Okay, so whatever be my score, so that's very important that you note that whatever course you prefer, you put it first and then the rest. But here I strategized in a way. So why did I put those two courses, you might ask that. uh, if you are not willing to get into mental health and public health, why did you choose those courses? But why I did that, I noticed that psychology ka jo interview hoga, so that for us it was on 9th July. Okay, and the other two courses interviews were on 7th and 6th, or 5th or 7th, something like that. 5th and 6th July, I guess. So I got oriented to the system. I got oriented how to log in, how to sit, how where am I faltering, and what kind of panelists are they, what kind of questions they ask. So that I got familiarized with. And when I actually sat for my preferred course, so that was psychology, I was quite, I mean, calm down, and I was quite confident that now I know how to sit, how to talk, and how to manage the questions, how to
That
deal with the
added to
questions.
your advantage, right? It's like you
Yeah,
already simulated practicing. Like that is something that I've been talking about in my last video. So something of that sort, something along those lines.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I did not think about it like that, but when I sat for it, I saw the benefits. So it was like a mock preparation, basically.
Yes.
UPSC students do it all the time, and I think this also many TISS aspirants also sit for those mock interviews. So I would suggest those who are willing to pay, I think 500 extra bucks. So of course the TISSNET forms are for 500, and I think more, 1,000 maybe. So if you are willing to pay those many bucks, so you can get a first hand experience with the panelists. So that really worked in my favor. And now coming back to the preparation, that was the main question, I deviated. So basically the duff is why the duff is very important. The whole process, the whole online assessment will be based on your duff. So that's the detailed application form. Whatever you write there, be make sure that you are very thorough with every point. The internship that you did, the research project that you worked on, everything. You have to be very familiarized with the research methodology, how it will help the community, and what kind of ethical dilemmas that you faced. So every kind of questions they can ask. Okay, so whenever you are writing those things, do not bluff, do not like flaunt anything. No, I have to impress the panelists. They will not be impressed by how many, they will be impressed by the quality. So keep that in mind. So I did a few, I mean pandemic mein baithe hi thi, so I did a few internships, and I did not have any research experience. So I wrote about those internships and why I chose those internships, because nowadays people are just mindlessly doing internships. So they do not think about why are they even doing the internship, how is it going to benefit them. So I made very sure that I know my uh, I know my interests and what I'm inclined towards. So that things I incorporated in my DAF. I prepared it very fascinatingly. I mean, I got it proofread by my seniors, so those who are already in TISS. So that's another strategy that you can do. For example, you can send me your detailed application form, whoever is watching. So I can put my email ID. You can send me. I can proofread it for you. So that's how I got it checked from various sources. And then I there was plenty of errors. I bluffed at some points. I went overboard. So they really just like they gave me those feedbacks that helped. And lastly, of course, coming to the main online assessment, so you will get the extempore first. So there will be 3 to 4 panelists on an average, and firstly they will ask you about the extempore. So they will give you a random topic. You will have to speak about it for 2 to 3 minutes, and you will be given 1 minute in advance to think about it, and you can also write down the points. So what I did was I did some mind mapping then and there when the timer started. And the preparation that I did, the strategy that I made, was that it's not possible to, i mean uh, think what topic they might ask, because it's very random. For me, the topic was homelessness and mental health. I had never, imagined that this topic could come. So, but what helped, that I had a strategy in my head how to go about it. So, a generic format basically कि ये बोलना है, फिर ये बोलना है, ऐसे points लाना है, तो political aspect, social aspects, and lastly to tie it with your personal experiences. So I did some internships and field work. So I connected homelessness with those field work experiences that I worked for them, and I saw firsthand. I had some firsthand experience with their experience, how they experience their how what kind of mental health challenges they face. So that gave it a edge, of course. So that's how the extempore went, and last then comes the OPI, so the online personal interview. And then the panelists will ask you different sort of questions, and remember that everything will be from your detailed application form related to it. And my generic, so I had generic elective of economics in my graduation, so they asked a question from there also. What do you know about this? They asked that random question and I could not answer that. And be very honest and very spontaneous that you don't know, it's okay, you don't have to feel guilty about it. So I was very confident and I said that, sir, sorry, but I think I would have to look into it again, but I have just forgotten it. So sir was like, okay, no problem. And the questions might come from like generic social psych questions, clinical as in abnormal psychology, and the general questions like what are your interests, what are your motivations to join this. So these are fundamental questions that you would have to prepare. So for example, one questions that they asked me was about why did I do those internships, and how is it related to the TISS experience that I am looking forward to. So I said that yes, I have this community focused outlook. So I think that prevention is better than cure. Clinical psychologists have a different orientation, so they work with individuals and things. But I feel that community focused intervention and primary prevention is very much required in today's time, because mental health is now a very like epidemic, like a pandemic maybe coming in coming years. So that's how I oriented my answers. So yeah.
So, like, you told us about your interview. Like, I have heard basically. So, there's not a lot of information that you get with respect to test interviews. What I have heard, or rather read from Quora, is something like they ask you very application based critical questions. So I don't know how many of our viewers have, or you have read that particular response on Quora where it says that they asked the participant where was she from, the interviewee. So and then she said I'm from Delhi. So she was like, okay. Then they asked her, uh, since Aam Aadmi Party won the elections this time, what psychological strategies did they adopt? So that is a very critical question. We often don't even read the manifestos that they give us. So what did your interview specifically look like? You told us about that question you got asked. Were there any critical questions, or was it a very easygoing thing?
No, I mean, of course, it was not that easygoing, but panelists were pretty chill, so that added to the advantage. But yeah, you have read it right, that they ask a lot of critical questions, and I actually prepared for some questions beforehand. And you have to be, as you said, that if you are from Delhi, so they will ask you questions related to your state or your area. So I prepared some questions like West Bengal. I'm from West Bengal, so I prepared questions like here Mamata Banerjee is the CM. So what is her strategies? How is she winning the elections? So the populist cultures, the populist strategies. I studied those all things, and I prepared certain, I mean, answers. I won't say that answers, but a certain framework. But the questions that they asked, first of all, there was a sir. So the sir asked me, tell us, he said firstly, what where are you from? So I said I'm from West Bengal. So he said, can you give me an example where a social problem that West Bengal has? So I said that yeah, classism and casteism is very prevalent in West Bengal. So then he said, okay, so it seems like you had economics as your GE. So can you give an example of an economic problem that West Bengal has? So then that was a bouncer. I did not see it coming. So I said that petrol price hike. It is an economic problem that West Bengal is facing, and perhaps the whole India is facing. So sir was impressed, and sir said that okay. So now can you tell me about? I think sir also asked another question. So I don't remember, but related to this petrol price hike. So and he said that, can you give me another example related to petrol hike, so that what is the social implication of it? So I talked about unemployment and how the people who are unemployed will be affected by the price hike. So how the petrol price hike will lead to the price hike of other commodities. So whether it's subsidy, whether it's any stationery item, everything, because the conveyance is required now. So that I linked with, and I think that was a critical question. And another critical question that one ma'am, so probably Chetna ma'am, asked me about traditional healing, since I wrote about it in my detailed application form that I am really interested in Indian psychology and yoga and stuff. So she said that okay, it seems like you are interested in Indian psychology. Can you first of all, she asked me about one psychopathology. So she said, tell me about any one psychopathology. So I talked about schizophrenia and its symptoms. So then she said, since you are interested in Indian psych, can you tell me how traditional healing can help a client with schizophrenia? And I was like, I don't know, but I think traditional healing will be an adjunct therapy, but mostly the medication should help. I mean, medication should be a must here in case of schizophrenia. So ma'am said, okay, but do you have any knowledge about traditional healing? So I said, not exactly, but I have some information on yoga. So I connected yoga with the traditional practices, how the yogic practices maybe can help the mental health. So that's how I framed my answer. So I think you have to be very prepared with the political questions. You have to be very thorough with the social understanding, socio-economic understanding of your area particularly, and also the India. So yeah, those kind of questions you can definitely expect.
Like looking at your responses, I feel it's the knowledge and also the presence of mind that's required. Like you said, you didn't know about your GE. So thinking, how can I relate it to what is happening outside? So that is pretty amazing. Like, I'm amazed, honestly, working in that moment where it just gets so anxious, so out of hand. There are a lot of things that can go wrong with an interview. Like, I believe the first 5-10 minutes are the make or break situation. So if you just give correct responses and get like a positive response, then you're also like a little confident that I'll be able to pull this off. But then in case that doesn't happen, it just goes downside. Actually, like, you said you weren't prepared, and how is this not preparation, Shreya? How is this not preparation? I mean, come on, tell us the truth,
I,
Shreya. You lying?
no, as I said that for interview, I prepared like I went with the strategies. So you were also saying the strategies are important. So yeah, I really trust that thing that strategies are more important than your knowledge. If you don't have knowledge in certain area, it's okay. You don't have to read 10 books to gather those knowledge, and because you cannot stuff yourself with all the knowledge and then expect to vomit in the interview. You have to be very strategic in a way whenever you are giving any answer. So that's what I followed, that worked for me, that whenever I gave an answer, I linked it with some personal experiences. So that's how I proved that, yeah, I have this knowledge because of my experience. I haven't read it from any book. It's not a rote learning. It's from my personal experience. So they really, even in the course that I'm already studying, so they put a lot of emphasis on your personal experiences, your personal reflection as a practitioner, as a researcher. What are your values? So what are your motivations? So those things I was very aware of, and I think that really benefited me. That worked in my advantage. I won't say that I read very rigorously for it. I was like preparing day and night. No, I did not do certain those things. Definitely not. But I looked through, and that this is another tip that I would be giving, that please go through their website. I mean, if possible, just make notes from their website. I did that. I did a lot of research with their website, what projects they have undertaken, because this is some a place where they indulge in a lot of community work. So what kind of community work they are doing, why they are doing that, so what is the need of in our country, and what is the need in the mental health domain, in the social psychosocial domain per se. So those things I got acquainted myself with, and that was a game changer. I would say that really helped me to get into this.
So, Shreya, you reflected on your resources before. So, what I would want to ask you is that since the TISS exam is something that happens very early, so would you recommend all the people who are watching this, all the people who are wanting to clear TISS, would you recommend looking at the theoretical aspect of it? So, let's say I want to study something like political science. Would you recommend I sit with a book or start with MCQs? What would help me better? Since college is also going on, there are those things as well. The third year gets very hectic. So, how do I juggle between?
Yeah, that's a very important question, I guess. Firstly, I would say that yes, of course, you can start with a book, but for this specifically, I don't know about other similar exams, but for this, there is no hard and fast syllabus. You won't find a syllabus, so they give a very vague kind of a syllabus, or maybe a framework which you can follow. So, for example, in for TISSNET. So there is in GK section they have politics, social studies, science and technology, environment, sports, art and culture, and Indian history. So it's very vast. You cannot really expect to sit with a book and finish it. So, and even if you have gone through entire, the whole NCERT books and everything, you cannot expect questions from there, because they won't really give questions from the books. So you have to be very, you have to have a very broad sense, kind of an understanding. You have to be very thorough with whatever is going on in the country right now. So that's how I think you should start preparing. One should start preparing. They have to be, they have to go through the newspapers if they want to be very rigorous with their effort, and also question paper solving. So I'm not sure if TISSNET really, they repeat questions that frequently, because because the current affairs change every year, right? So current affairs is a whole big chunk of the general awareness section. GK is a definitely it's also a big chunk, and the current affairs is also a big chunk. So you cannot expect the current affairs to repeat themselves. So you have to be very vigilant with the what's happening outside. And for GK, I think definitely the books definitely would help, the Lucent GK and the other books that are there. So for GK, definitely I think one should prepare early on if they want to clear TISSNET with a good marks.
All right. I think those are very, very good tips. I mean, if I would have followed these tips, I would have been able to clear the exam for sure. Then it would have been like this, not BHU. So Shreya, what are your plans for the future? What is it that you're planning to do now, or even after your degree finishes?
Yeah, I mean, future plans, पहले ये खत्म हो जाए. So that's the future plan as of now. No, but like that's the toughest question of all. I mean,
Yes.
whatever you have asked till now, and but my answer is I think pretty simple. I don't know. I mean, seriously, I don't have a roadmap because I don't do much planning first of all, and I'm as you must be knowing by now. You are also a psychology student, so you must be analyzing me a little. So you must be knowing that I'm someone who is really I like to take things very casually. I don't really push myself to that brink where I would just fall and then would hurt myself. So yeah, I don't do much planning. I'm as clueless as anyone who is, I mean, going to listen to this video and thinking that they would get a well structured roadmap. But and I think that would be my other tip for the aspirants, that you don't have to be so rigid, right? Be very open minded and be very flexible and open to ideas, basically, and navigate the field, because you and I know, like, it's a growing field, right? And it's enormous. It has so many avenues to explore and find what suits you. And I mean, this is something that I'm telling myself also right now. So, as you said, that what are my future plans? So, I'm just thinking out loud that find what suits you and see what tinkers your interest and what makes you curious, basically. And I still don't know. I mean, that this is very, I mean, I don't know, but I still don't know whether I want to be a clinical psychologist or a counseling psychologist. I mean, work with individuals or in groups, or maybe none of this. And maybe I'll become a writer because writing really fascinates me. I mean, I do writing as my hobby, my passion, I think. Or maybe nothing at all as of now. I'm really not sure, but what I know is that this field has much more to offer, and it is transdisciplinary. It has multiple unexplored avenues or corners that I want to explore. I mean, I want to visit those lanes which are unexplored. And for instance, Indian psychology, yoga, traditional practices, these capture my interest. And while we all are exposed to these Western ideas, Western concept theories, so perhaps how to bring the threads together, right? How to be more effective in our practice, and how politics play out in this scenario. And above all, since I love writing, so this is most fascinating to me, that how art and creativity can help us to thrive in this chaotic and confusing world. So I believe that um, we are not supposed to know it all, and especially at this age, it's just the beginning, and it's a pursuit, and I don't expect it to end anytime soon. So let life happen. Whatever will come my way, I would welcome it with open heart. Yeah.
I think that's an amazing response, honestly. I wish you all the best. I hope like you achieve whatever you wish for and ace everything that comes your way. So any final words for those who are preparing? They have still got a lot of time. What would be your tip or some inspiring words?
Yeah. So for tips, I mean, I have some tips. Okay, so let me pull that out. Yeah. So one tip would be to be confident and calm, of course. So that's what I followed. I think the professors would know if you know you have the knowledge or not. They would know, but you have to deliver it in a way so that it gets conveyed to them that you know that, and you have to be very confident that yes, I know that. Okay, and even if you don't know that, don't be panicked and don't worry, because it's, you are going to learn. It's not a job interview where you have to know it all. You are going to learn, and you have to express it in a very I mean in a very humble manner, that yes ma'am, or yes sir, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. So express that willingness to learn. So that would be my first tip for any aspirants. And not, it just don't have to be the interview per se, your outlook towards life, just the learning attitude, that yes, I'm learning, and this is a learning process. I might falter, I might fail at times, but it's okay. So that's the first tip I would say, the be confident and calm. And of course, get an understanding of the current status of mental health and psychology in India. So that's very important, that you know about the Mental Health Care Act and relevant policies. So perhaps the disabilities bill and decriminalization of Section 377. So these things, I think you have to be very thorough with. And then, as I said, that TISS website, it's a gem. And then, and of course, when you are going through the TISS website, try to tie your values with the institute's value. Okay, so community. So that's why I'm inclined to join TISS. So that's one
Yeah, I'm
point.
a little. There was
My
some
internet was
signal.
unstable, no?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
So the
Okay, so
last, if
I'll
you could repeat that, yes.
yeah, yeah, sure. So, as I said, when you are going through the TISS website, tie your values with the institute's value.
Mm.
So, perhaps I want to work with community. So, TISS is already working with community, and there are so many researcher practitioners who are working with community, and they are serving the general mass people. So, that's when I respond to them, I would respond with that intent, that I would convey that message, that I am also willing to work. You are already working, so I am willing to learn from you. That's why I want to join this. So that I mean, it worked for me, and I focused on community. You can work focus on anything else that you are actually which is actually vibrating with you. And then opinion about different psychosocial issues and current affairs. So that's very important also, that you have to be very opinionated, and the opinion shouldn't be very radical. You have to take a very balanced opinion, that yes, this and also this, so pros and cons, and I stand somewhere in the middle. So that sort of an opinion you have to develop. And especially with the psychosocial issues and the political climate. So these are the this is one point. And research work, these things I think I have already mentioned, that research, you have to be very thorough with the ethical points and everything, because TISS follows a lot of ethics, ethical practices. They focus on that a lot, so you also have to orient yourself with that ethical values, ethical norms and everything. And lastly, I think that's a no brainer again, that your genuineness and drive towards learning the subject matters the most, and your authenticity, that would make the greatest impact in the interview. And even when you are preparing for TISSNET, be very open minded and willing to learn, that you don't have to see the syllabus as a syllabus, that oh my god, political science, oh my god, sports. You don't have to see it like that. Absorb whatever you can, because it's an ocean you cannot finish. Let's be honest here. Anyone, however much marks they have gotten, they, no one can say with utmost confidence that I was 100% prepared. It's, there will be that luck factor. You have to, you cannot deny that. I can't deny that, because I myself, I believe that 70% was luck, at least for the TISSNET. And the rest, I did work on my strategies, and I think that sailed me through the interview. But for TISSNET, you have to be very open that luck might not favor. So yeah, it's for you, Akshita, as well, that maybe luck was not in your favor, but it's okay. I mean, you got into BHU, so that's dream institute for many. So yeah, whatever happens, it's a learning opportunity again.
I've started believing that things happen for a reason, and it has just worked out for me. Some people believe that that's a very passive perspective to hold, that you're not responsible for your own actions, but that's how it turned out for us, right? This wasn't planned. In my case, BHU wasn't planned, but that happened. Um, Coming back to the interview, it was very insightful. Thank you so much, Shreya, for joining us today. And that's a wrap on today's session. Thank you so much for joining in. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and wait for some more insightful content coming in the near future. Bye bye.